So you want a Triumph Street Triple. This bike used to be an obvious choice for an intermediate street squid with above average taste. But things have changed. In a world of watered down middleweights that are cheaper, simpler, and easier to live with, the Street Triple has become a bit of a novelty. It's the only middleweight naked bike on the market today that was truly born from a super sport motorcycle, and instead of diluting it and softening it, it only got refined and sharper as the years went on. This is antithetical to the direction the segment has moved, which makes the Street Triple either the most desirable option or the most regrettable, depending on who you are. So today, let's figure out if you actually want a Street Triple, and if so, discuss which one you should buy and what this motorcycle is actually like to own. If you're new around here, 3-cylinder Triumphs are a cornerstone of my riding tenure, so if there's anyone that can help you with this decision, I'm probably the guy for the job. Let's get started. All right, before you start looking for round headlight conversions because you can't stand the bug eyes or getting a multimeter for those pesky British electrical gremlins, we have to talk about what makes the Street Triple special. Because you might be surprised at how unique this motorcycle is in the modern middleweight category. Now, one could argue that the Stripple has more in common with something like an R6 than an MT-09 or even the new Triumph Trident 800. The Street Triple has always been directly tied to the Triumph Daytona 675 Super Sport. This isn't some generic naked bike with a trellis frame and a detuned Daytona engine designed to cosplay on your commute. It carries the same philosophy, intent, and architecture as the Daytona. Middleweight naked bikes used to come in a few different flavors. On one hand, you had bikes that used detuned super sport engines, upright ergonomics, and soft suspension. Think of something like the Yamaha FZ6 from back in the day. But then on the other hand, you had naked bikes that were built from the ground up, designed for street riding with torquey engines and wonky handling. Think of an early generation MT-09. Street Triple, on the other hand, is an entirely separate machine. It didn't try to hide its race bike DNA. It didn't try to soften it for approachability or ease of use. It was a sport bike that was a little more compliant for the street, and since then, it has never wavered in its purpose. Of course, this does come with some trade-offs. The 3-cylinder engine was a novelty at the time of its release. It didn't rev out quite as high as an inline 4, yet it didn't have the immediate grunt of a twin. It was good, but it was kind of weird. Yet, Triumph stuck with the platform and kept refining it. Now, it is not only one of the most interesting engine designs in the category, it's even used as a power plant in the Moto2 racing series in Grand Prix racing. And that's gotta mean something, right? Triples are way more common now, yet the Street Triple remains an outlier. Compared to Yamaha's CP3 or even Triumph's own newer triple in the Trident 800 or the Tiger Sport, the Street Triple feels distinctly racy. It revs out in the way that feels like a true motorsports product, not just an interesting street bike engine. The chassis has been continuously improved for nearly 20 years now as well. It didn't become softer or easier to ride, it became sharper and more intentional. The geometry combined with the engine make the Street Triple the middleweight naked bike that's best suited for true 50-50 street and track riding. And that's really the defining trait of this motorcycle. It never tried to become a mass market machine. It didn't chase value, it didn't chase comfort and usability, and it didn't try to appeal to everybody. It just kind of kept getting better at being what it always was, a middleweight sport bike without fairings. And that's why it feels so different from everything else in the category today. It's stiff, it's raucous, it's racy, it's a real sport bike, just without fairings. So if that sounds like what you want out of a motorcycle, well, then which Street Triple should you buy? Some motorcycles run for years with minimal updates, and others have been optimized away from their original purpose. But the Street Triple is unique in the way that it has been continuously improved without compromise or concession. The short version of this, if you just want a TLDR, is just buy the newest model you can afford. Let me explain. The first Street Triple was released in 2007, a year after the Daytona Super Sport. It was essentially a sport bike with no fairings and a handlebar. It was raw, lightweight, and pretty simple. In 2011, Triumph did away with the dual round headlights for the angular bug-eye styling. This gave the Street Triple identity, but it made it more polarizing. Me personally, I am here for it. In a world of mildly pleasant, inoffensive, yet flat and homogeneous design, I feel a longing for distinct yet polarizing design language. Count me firmly in camp bug-eye headlights. The street triples from the 675 era are really cool, but they're probably not the best buy for most people. They're known for electrical issues with the stators and the regulator rectifier, just your typical British bike fare, and beyond that, the newer models are noticeably better. Power, tech, and chassis refinements are all improved in the later model years. If you're buying a 675 era street triple, it's gotta be a little bit more of a nostalgia heritage play. You want the analog feel, the cable throttle, and simpler machine that can also somehow necessitates more complex care. But if that isn't you, everything changed in 2017. 2017 marked the launch of the 765. This is when the street triple started looking more like what it is today. Bigger engine, more power, more electronics, and eventually the involvement in Moto2 racing. While super sports were being discontinued and naked bikes were all starting to kind of blur together, Triumph kept whittling away at the street triple. 2020 brought more updates, as did 2023. And today, the street triple 765 RS makes a whopping 128 horsepower, which is actually a little bit more than the old school Daytona used to make. It's a pretty incredible feat for an engine of its size. It's actually the highest specific power output of anything in the middleweight category. It uses fully adjustable Showa forks, fully adjustable Öhlins shock, and Brembo monoblock calipers. Or, new for 2026, there is the RX version, which is to signify Race Extreme. It has more aggressive clip-on handlebars, an Öhlins fork, track focus tech, and bold new graphics. The RX trims from Triumph often come out near the end of a product's life cycle as a sort of last hurrah. With the direction Triumph seems to be heading with their new 800 line of 3 cylinders, maybe the sun is finally setting on the street triple. Maybe people don't want a naked race bike for the street anymore. Maybe everyone has gone soft, and that's why all of us fast boys can't have nice things. Because if the street triple's racy nature is an anomaly in the category, what are the other bikes bringing to the table? All right, boys, let's talk about the fastest way to identify a new rider. It's not waddling at stoplights or duck feet on pegs. It's a cheapo bargain bin phone mount made of rubber bands and zip ties. A little $1,500 smartphone vibrating around like it's one speed bump away from yeeting into the stratosphere. That's why basically every rider ends up running a quad lock system. With quad lock, you've got the phone case and the handlebar mount, and once it's locked in, it's not going anywhere. Epic highway pulls, massive dank canooners, even off-road terrain. I've taken mine on the Touareg and it holds on pretty damn well. Your phone isn't going anywhere. A handlebar mount is crucial for navigation or adjusting music on the fly. And once you've got the case, a whole ecosystem of accessories opens up to you. You've got vibration dampeners, wireless chargers, handlebar mounts, car mounts, bicycle mounts, you name it. They've also got their backpack and action camera mounts too. Whatever you've got going on, Quad Lock can keep your phone safe and accessible. Like I said, there's a reason everyone ends up with Quad Lock eventually. It's solved the phone mounting problem. Whatever phone you've got, whatever bike you've got, Quad Lock has the setup for you. So head over to the site using the link down below and use the code YAMMY10 for 10% off site-wide. Again, that is YAMMY10 for 10% off your order at Quad Lock. Thanks to them for the support. Now let's get back to the show. On paper, the most obvious comparison is going to be the Yamaha MT-09 SP. It trades for a relatively similar price. It has a similar engine layout with 3 cylinders, kind of a similar displacement and power, but it also comes with a whole 10 foot-pounds of extra torque. The CP3 engine is a gem, we all know this. It's torquey, lively, and makes the bike feel fast pretty much everywhere in the rev range. It's a really great motorcycle. But the MT-09 is not born of a sport bike, and that is an important distinction. It's a hooligan naked bike that got more refined so people could actually take them on a twisty road instead of just blasting them from stoplight to stoplight like some sort of ape-like motorcycle creature. The SP trim also solved most of the MT's handling woes, and the result is a bike that's fun, playful, and probably a little easier to ride day to day than a street triple. But if you're into pushing hard, especially at the track, the MT-09 is not going to be as precise or composed as a street triple. It ascribes to a different philosophy entirely. Then you've got the KTM Duke 990. This bike is different from both the MT-09 or the street triple. The Yamaha is playful, the street triple is precise, and the KTM is just plain aggressive. It feels raw, aggro, and very KTM. Riding style aside, it also comes with the usual KTM caveats. KTM changes this parallel twin engine like every 2 years. The Street Triple might be a British bike, but since it hasn't been ground up overhauled since its inception, it's quite a bit more proven at this point. The KTM is going to be a lot less polished of an experience, especially if you're trying to do track stuff, not just street degeneracy. To me, the Street Triple is a little bit more complete. The base model Ducati Street Fighter V2 is also an interesting alternative. The new Ducati stuff is really nice. You guys know I'm a big fan. Street Fighter uses the new V2 engine that makes 120 ponies, has long service intervals, and is super lightweight. This bike weighs less than 400 pounds. It has fully adjustable suspension in the base trim and Öhlins suspension in the S variant. I personally really enjoy the new V2 engine in the new Ducati products, and while it's not as racy as the Triple and the Triumph, it still strikes a balance between mid-range and top-end power. If KTM has the caveat of uncertain reliability, really the main caveat with the Ducati is price. Modern Ducatis are pretty well sorted. They look great, they sound great, but as you guys know, you gotta pay that pasta tax with a significant increase in price. The base model Street Fighter costs $16,000, which is $2,500 more than the RS trim of the Street Triple, and the Street Fighter V2S costs a whopping $19,000, which used to be like R1 money a few years back. I think it still is. It's very expensive for a middleweight bike. However, if pricing is no concern, it will definitely come down to a difference in personality between the two bikes. Now, coming in slightly smaller, there is the Aprilia Tuono 660, and I think this is a really cool motorcycle and a great bike for a lot of people. It's light, pretty affordable, and very capable on street and track. Making 100 horsepower, it's more approachable than a fully juiced Street Triple RS2, but it doesn't have the same refinement, capability, or pedigree that the Street Triple does. I mean, the Street Triple is just simply a much faster, better motorcycle. But if you're looking for a cheaper bike with a cool parallel twin engine and lots of tech for 95% street duty, the Tuono 660 is worth considering. And lastly, it's worth discussing Triumph's very own Trident 800. This motorcycle is important in the way that it serves as a foil to the Street Triple. Everything the Trident isn't is what makes the Street Triple feel so special. The Trident is Triumph going mainstream, going mass market, more broad appeal, more street oriented, cheaper, simply, and more, well, painfully banal. It takes what Triumph did so well with the Street Triple, then making it feel more like it was made by Honda. If you're in the market for a Street Triple, the Trident is kind of an antithesis to this bike. Sure, on paper, they're both naked 3-cylinder motorcycles, but their purpose couldn't be further opposite of one another. And honestly, ride them back to back and you'll see exactly what I mean. The Street Triple isn't the value plate, it isn't the easiest to ride, and it's not the most extreme, but in my opinion, it's the most focused, deliberate, and specialized. And in a category where specialization is starting to seem like a bit of a liability, its existence is very important. So, who else will see value in that? Who will rightly serve as a steward for this middleweight classic? It used to be a solved second bike problem. It was the motorcycle you bought after a few years when you wanted to start taking riding seriously. I mean, I can't tell you how many Reddit posts have been dedicated to, what should my second bike be? And the answer was always, Street Triple. It's what you got if you wanted serious performance chops, but you didn't want to be bridled by a fully fared sport bike. But things are really different now. Super sports barely exist anymore, and the next-gen class feels less like super sports than the Street Triple even does. I mean, a lot of the new super sport bikes are naked bikes with fairings on them, so in that way, the Street Triple is more of a super sport than those bikes. It's starting to get kind of weird. And as for naked bikes, they're all built nowadays for torque, comfort, and accessibility, and that is great for sales, sure. But it comes at a cost. The Street Triple is a motorcycle that knows where it came from. It knows what it's all about. It's equally comfortable on a racetrack as it is on the twisties. It will ask more from you than an MT-09 will. It will require you to give up a little bit of comfort for the sake of performance. That's not going to make sense for most riders these days, but it's kind of an old school callback. Because if that connection to racing is important to you in a middleweight bike, then the Street Triple isn't just a good option, it's pretty much your only option. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of today's video. If you want to learn more about my thoughts on the Street Triple, we have plenty of videos in the back catalog from when I had one as a giveaway bike in 2024. Oh yeah, and speaking of giveaway motorcycles, if you want to support the channel, head over to yamadude.co to learn about our membership options, how to gain access to our Discord server, and how to earn automatic entries to win our giveaway bikes. I've been doing a lot of these. I think we're up to like bike number 70 or 71, which is pretty nuts. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.